Welcome to Pacifica Narratives, a series produced by the Pacific Islander Community Association of Washington to highlight the resilience and cultural brilliance of Pacifica peoples here in the Pacific Northwest during COVID and beyond. We come from many nations in Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia, and we have been in these parts for about 200 years. We continue to lift up the traditional stewards of these lands as we work to establish cultural home, center community power, and advance the wellness of Pasifika people here in the U.S. diaspora. Our voice is our liberation.
Our voice is our liberation.
Is our liberation.
Our voice is our liberation.
Our voice is our liberation.
Oh, nia nei rea nui ha mea ui. Hu I hewa I ha ili I ha ua po ai hala. Leia nei ta mo tia nei ta vehi o tai ona. Li hau pu e te anu. Hau o ti o ta le ni. Oh hey, oh hey, oh hey, aloha.
Makani kamo olelo Hawaiian o ka humanu hahai mahuana ka pu'uwai o ka mehameha I ka moana Makani kamo olelo Hawaiian o ka humanu hahai mauana ka pu'uwai o ka mehameha I ka moana no kamanu kamo olelo Hawaiian o lili uro kalani mawana ke o Hawaiian malama pono I ka aina kalahui Hawaiian ho'olo pono me ka pai aina o Hawaiian malama mau Hawaiian Malama mau Hawaii Kua e no ka manu e Ka mo'olelo Hawaii e O lili'u o ka lani Mawana ke e o Hawaii e Malama pono I ka aina e Kalahui Hawaii Ho'olo he ina pono Me ka pai aina o Hawaii e Malama mau Hawaii Ho'olo he ina pono Me ka pai aina o Hawaii e Malama mau Hawaii 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 Malama mau Hawaii
My name is Kalihua Ka'apana, and my family comes from Oahu, and I work in Evergreen High School as a college preparatory advisor. Hula is a traditional Hawaiian dance that tells stories of people of Hawaii and history and about love and really about anything. But hula is the way that Kanaka Maoli share and express those stories. So my mother, Mudeka Apana, was the kumuhula for Pulamahia Kulikule Hua, based in Seattle. She started teaching when she was in college at Seattle U. And I started dancing with her halau when I was 7, about 2nd grade, and I've been dancing on and off ever since. So her passion and love for hula and the Hawaiian culture has been deeply embedded into my life and how I want to share my passion with the rest of my community. So COVID was challenging especially since I work in education. A lot of my students had a hard time emotionally and just struggling to get by in class without being able to have contact with their teachers and their peers. It was hard for me because I couldn't do much about it besides try to reach out through phone or email, but not being able to see them was hard for both them and me. This past year has been hard for all of us, but there's so much more to come. There's so much more good things and positive things that we can bring into the coming year. Go forth with love and positivity, and don't let COVID and 2020 hold you back from doing what you want to do and moving forward with your life. Our mental health has been hit hard in the past year or so. So don't be afraid to reach out to your loved ones and your friends and your peers, because we all need a little bit of extra love. I'm proud to be Native Hawaiian because we just have such a rich culture, and I am proud to have a unique name. I am proud to be a part of a large family, and there's so many parts of my culture that I wouldn't have it any other way. So yes, I am proud to be Kanaka Maoli forever.
O kamawai loa lani he muku ua hānau nā mākua I hae hae. O vai ale ale he mauna, ua hānau ia ka loku ka ua loko ia. O wai mea, ma luhi maka vai kini e o kaneni o wai mea e. Lua vai ia ia aina, maka weli me vai mea e hānai ia ka aina. O kanikula ka puu, kani ka manu, kani ka hekili, kani kua lono ha mau ka leo e. O uku ike ala, e noho ana kanani o ku aina e. So basically, I told you where I'm from. Kamawai Lualani is the island, or the original name for the island of Kauai, where I'm from, whose parents are in Ha'ehae. And then Vai Ale Ale is the mountain on the island of Kauai, wherein Kaualoku, which is the rain, is born up in Vai Ale Ale, which is known to be one of the wettest places on earth. Kanikula is the hill in Waimea, where I'm from. And then there's two rivers, Makaweli and Waimea. And Uuku is the name of the street that I live on. And so that is my world in chant, in Oli form, and that's where I'm from. Yeah. Native Hawaiians in Washington are basically the same as Native Hawaiians back home in their own land. A lot of times we have Native Hawaiians, we feel like foreigners even in our own land, right? Somebody came and told us that we're always late, and so we became late. And the white man came and told us that we are stupid, so we became stupid, right? And so we tend to stay to ourselves, right? However, we're getting to be more educated nowadays. Yeah? Our young people go to college, and we teach them to give back and to be something, and what I do, especially at Halal, to be something and to be a leader, not a follower. And so slowly by slowly, we're gaining back, how do I say, what our Hawaiian people used to be. I had Koviki before they had a name for it, right? So I did spend the time in the hospital on respirator, all that kind of stuff. I still have a respirator at home, oxygen, and so I cannot do the things that I used to be able to do. I cannot chant like how I used to chant. I cannot sing how I used to sing. I cannot dance and do all those other things, and so that's why I have girls from Halau Alakai that teaches the classes and molding them, right, to transfer all that I have to the next generation, right? Because if I do not, then it gets lost when I leave. And COVID had put, how do you say, a shorter expiration date on all of us. Yeah, and we were not prepared for it, but it just came and took over anyway. So the value for me now is to teach harder, to be a better example for my girls and the kids that come to Halau, that they have to learn faster than what I had planned for them to learn, or they have to learn faster than what a normal person learns, because this COVID has no mercy, and it's not prejudice. Yeah, COVID don't care who you are. The fat, the skinny, the old, the young, they will take you anyway, right? And so the value is to learn now, yeah, before it's too late. The vaccine for me, helps, right? And I know a lot of times we don't want, because not too many studies and all that, but at the same time, we're so eager to go to the store and we buy all the chemicals and eat it anyway, right? So what's the difference between that chemicals and the vaccine? And the vaccine has been produced to help us, and so why not, right? For me, if it makes me healthy and will help the community and also the culture to live on, then why not? You cannot learn Native Hawaiian on video. Yeah. And I always tell my students that hula is not a once a week thing. Hawaiian culture is not a once a week thing. It's a way of life. And when they come to halau, they learn the ways of life. Halau happens to be a community. And I tell the parents, if you don't like your kids yelled at, if you don't like to be scolded, then you're in the wrong place, right? Okay, then, or drop off your kids and go. But Hawaiian culture has to be a way of life. Yeah, you live it, you breathe it, and you study it, and then you accept it, and then you teach it to somebody else, so that you have a village to grow in. It cannot be just one person. It has to be everybody living the same, so that you have the same values and you accept the same things, and then you can live in harmony. And that's Hawaiian culture, living in harmony. Before we were discovered, I feel that PICA-WA gave the Hawaiian people aloha, right? And said, go ahead. And we lived for centuries with aloha, and we were fine until somebody came and brought us diseases, right? And then with the diseases, they brought war. And then so we had to learn how to adapt with the diseases. And the diseases killed us off because we didn't know what to do. We never had it, right? And then war came in. We didn't know what to do either because we're not fighters. We're people that live in harmony with aloha, And so we're learning all of this, but at the same time, adjusting in today's life, we cannot forget that aloha was given to us first. And that should be the root in how we live our lives.
Mother Nature's melody, whispering wind through the trees.
Hi, my name is Cody Rowan. I'm native Hawaiian. I'm from Federal Way, Washington. My family's from Oahu, Hawaii. My dad is from Kaneohe and my mom is from Hawaii Kai. Growing up, I would always be in Hawaii, staying with family. They'd show me around, they'd teach me culture, they'd show me the good foods, and I'm not sure if I paid so much attention to it, but I remember going into 6th grade, my dad sent me off to Hawaii to go to school there, and it was like a week-long camp at this school, Kamehameha Schools. We did everything that like our ancestors used to do. We'd wear what they wear, we'd only speak Hawaiian, and we planted what they planted, we lived how they lived. It was just a really fun experience. Being a Pacifica Wayfinder is awesome. I get to serve my community, serve my people, keep them safe, healthy, provide them with food. It's a really safe space at this office. It's like a little family. We're all vaccinated, we're all taking care of each other. Me and the other Wayfinders, we went to a farm and we learned more about what our ancestors used to do to live and feed themselves. We harvested a lot of crops, planted a bunch of type of vegetables, fruits. For my community, I know they're very stubborn on getting vaccinated. I don't think they see that it helps. Even if you get COVID, it'll help reduce it. It took me a while to convince my family to get the vaccine until I got it first. And then after that, I've had almost my whole family vaccinated. The pandemic has kept me and my family closed off from our other family, doing things we like to do. For instance, I can't go to Hawaii. I haven't been there in 3 years. I couldn't go to Hawaii last year and see my grandparents, see my grandma's funeral. It's been kind of a hard time. I've noticed that my siblings have been very distant. They've lost their ability to socialize. Now that they're going to school, that's starting to spark them up again. And I know that when COVID hit, I was very to myself. I forgot how to talk to people. But being at PICA, it helped me open up and be more confident with what I say, what I do. My culture has helped me in my life by the respect I show to others, the way I carry myself, the way I represent my family, the way I treat strangers, and my ability to always want to help people and clean up after myself or them. Very enriching, noble, humbling. Something I hope to do is really speak to my elders, outreach to them, and learn what I want to learn more about my culture now. Like what certain tribals mean, why do they dance the way they do, just the meaning of everything. I'd love to learn more about that. I love who I am. I love the blood that runs through my veins. I love representing my culture, my people. Even though I don't know much about it, I'm really working to learn more and just carry that with me, passing it on to others, and being a Pacific Islander is a blessing.
Aloha everyone, my name is Jessie Ka'ahumanu Ray Cohen. I currently live in Washington State. I am originally from Molokai, Hawaii, and I am Kanaka Maoli. When I was just 2 years old, I was taken from my family. My older brother and I were both taken from our family and placed in foster care. And we eventually were placed in the care of two people that moved us from Hawaii to the mainland or to the continental U.S. And from there we traveled around the West Coast, living in Arizona and Nevada. And eventually the home was highly abusive in all aspects that you can imagine. When Hawaiian children are not placed in Native homes, or Native children are not placed in Native homes, you really get removed from your culture, your language, your people. And so I was in a desperate place where I really wanted to try to find my family again in high school, and I reconnected with my birth mother, moved back to Hawaii. By then, so much of my life had been impacted by the way I was brought up here in the U.S. And so I finished my high school career in Hawaii with my mom and my older sisters and a couple of siblings there. But I quickly wanted to come back to the continental U.S. Because I hadn't been raised in Hawaii, and at the time, as a teenager, didn't really understand the importance of reconnecting with my culture. I unfortunately have lost many family members to this virus. I have lost many community members to this virus, and this really just highlighted how important it is to make decisions that are healthy for yourself, healthy for your mentality, healthy for your spirituality, and make those decisions and live your life to the fullest, whatever that means for you as an individual. So it really forced me to look inside myself and find out what it was that I wanted to do. And I think a lot of that for me came down to wanting to step out of a board position with PICA and step into a role where I could actually see and make tangible changes within my community. It really highlighted how unhealthy I was being by kind of staying behind my computer all day long, not getting out and exercising, doing the things that I need to do to keep myself healthy for not only myself but for my family as well. So COVID also really impacted the way that I recreate. I really took up a lot of hiking and working and advocating in those spaces for Black and brown folks to be outdoors and be welcomed in the outdoors. My smallest child is in kindergarten, so teaching them how to use an iPad, log into Zoom, while simultaneously building software for providers has been a really stressful time for me. But I'm thankful for all of my community who rallied around me, checked in with me, came and picked my kids up when I couldn't take it anymore. Those types of things have been really, really helpful for me. It also really, again, highlighted the disparities within our communities when I was hearing about children from my kids' school who didn't have internet, who were having to travel and sit in front of the school every day on iPads in their parents' cars during the middle of the winter. It really put a fire under me to try to see how I could impact change, either by helping the parents pay for their internet or finding resources for them in our community where they could get internet installed. Being Kanaka Maoli and seeing the way that my homelands are being prostituted right now during COVID-19 and seeing the direct harm that is coming to my family and Kanaka Maoli people in Hawaii has been really hard for me to manage. For me, the saddest part about that is it's just because people won't listen. We're not saying never come to Hawaii again. We're saying don't come now in the middle of a pandemic. Don't travel to Hawaii where on the island that I'm from, we have a 15-bed hospital and we already have 30 cases active as of today. So double the amount of beds and resources that we can handle on that island. I often think, what would the queen do? You know, what would Queen Liliuokalani do? Would she ask her people to get vaccinated? You know, I absolutely believe that she would, because this is for the betterment of our community. I would think about, question myself if I were still teetering on the decision of whether or not to get vaccinated. I always try to think, what's the best for my community? And right now, the vaccine is the best thing to do. And really, you know, try to think of it less of a political decision and more of a survival decision, because at this point, that's what it's come down to. There's nothing like that surge of energy that you get from seeing people that are like you, who understand you, who believe in you and love you for everything that you are. And so for me, it's not, I don't know that I can even say that I'm proud of myself for being Native Hawaiian. I'm just proud to be a part of that community, to be a part of our community. There's nothing else that I would choose to be except for Pacifica. And I'm really happy that I am who I am and I'm part of this community as a whole.
Aloha mai kākou, o Aaron Helenihi ko uinoa no Oahu Hawaii mai au. Aloha everyone, my name is Aaron Helenihi. I am from Oahu, Hawaii. I was born and raised on the island of Oahu. Attended Kamehameha schools, and from there went to college in Los Angeles at the University of Southern California. Lived there, became a teacher after, and did that for a few years. Left that, went into corporate world. Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders are displaced indigenous peoples, just as the native indigenous peoples of these lands. They have been either told or forced to go live on a reservation, or they're living wherever they can afford. But they're not living where they want to live. If you were to ask them where they would want to live, I'm sure there would be places that they could list of where they would absolutely love living. I always say Pacific Islanders didn't cross the border crossed us, and ever since it touched our shores, our people have been suffering and, going backwards. We do land acknowledgements to acknowledge that these lands are stolen lands. occupied by United States, and we would hope that others who would come to Hawaii or any other Pacific island would recognize that as well. I left that because I wanted to pursue helping my people and my community in achieving what I was able to achieve, and hoping that I could pass that on to the generations after me. I've been doing community-based nonprofit work for Native Hawaiians here for over 15 years. COVID was the top priority on everyone's mind, and from there we shifted to basically taking care of our community with testing, food distribution, vaccination clinics, and any other services we could help with to help our community members be able to survive this and grow from this pandemic. When we formed Hawaiian Civic Club, we happened to work out that it was Ka'ahaluhui o Olekona, which is Kalo, HCC, and we based it off of Kalo because Kalo is the plant that we all come from, that we are all born from, when Papa and Wakea came together, and then the story of Haloa. There's more to it than that, but to give you the basics of it. So we honor the Kalo plant as our ancestors. And if we are able to take care of the earth and take care of Kalo, then we're doing what our cultural ancestors and the knowledge that was passed down to us, we're carrying that forward for the generations to come. We learned that there are 30 states, including Washington, D.C., that do not have a category for someone dying of COVID to check Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. So for example, if I were to be in a hospital, say in South Carolina, I would have to check other or mixed race, which made it hard to understand how many of our Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders were actually dying or having hospitalizations or infection rates. I would highly recommend getting the vaccine. I've seen enough people that weren't vaccinated that were on their deathbed basically telling their family and friends, hey, please get vaccinated. I don't want you to go through this. This is horrible. But also, and I feel like it's been politicized where that's caused the division amongst us. When, you know, I'm back in the education, the world of education, and students that have come back to school, if they don't have any of their other vaccinations or booster shots, Tdaps, anything like that, they're not allowed into school until they get those. And we have to remember there was a reason for that. There's a reason that they needed to have those. And so at this level with this vaccination, I think we have to remember that this is a worldwide thing. This is not a United States thing, so it's not a political thing within our world. This is a pandemic. And so the more people that can get vaccinated, the sooner we can get past this. Please think of others, and please, I think, live aloha. Just share the love, and we got to keep everybody safe. And even if that you don't want to get vaccinated, please wear your mask, please wash your hands, and please keep your distance. Proud to be Native Hawaiian because we were scientists before the word scientist was ever made. Water doesn't stop us. Water actually is our highway. So we use that. We look at that as sort of almost like the internet. Like that's how you reach out to communicate to others and learn about others. And just knowing how small our numbers are as Native Hawaiians or as Pacific Islanders makes me more proud, makes me realize that it's something special. You know, a lot of times you think, oh, we don't have the numbers, we don't count. But I look at it as that's unique to me. That's something special, that there's only a few of us that have been allowed or born to be Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. And I am so happy and so proud, and especially because of the aloha and malama that, you know, always is brought forth when it comes to Native Hawaiians. It's up to each of us to make the most of it and try to understand what our ancestors for thousands of years have refined and made an effort to pass it down to us just so that we can continue to live and do this for our future generations.